I'm here today with Nicole Shivers, an artist in the Alfa Art Gallery show, The Space Between, and we'll be talking today about her art and other things. So just to kind of get started, you kind of started on the other side of the art world in the more administrative area. So what made you transition into making your own art?
Ooh, good question. Yeah, I was behind the scenes. So doing art now, I kind of have a holistic view of the art world. But I always, dabbled in art. I always did something, be it drawing, working on public art projects, as well as doing, my full-time gig with museums and art galleries. And so when we moved to New York 3 years ago, I left, the Smithsonian National Museum of African Art, where I was working for about 10 years. And I just kind of wanted to decompress and see where I wanted to go, next with everything. And I just started doing more and more art at home. And finally, my husband was like, you need to get a studio. Plus I was getting stuff everywhere,
Mm-hmm.
and just, I needed more room. So I found a studio out in Bushwick, Brooklyn with Nolo Studios. And I've been there for about a year. So that allowed me to concentrate on the work more.
Nice. And
Yeah.
so like what drew you towards making like the art you make, making sculptures and using found objects?
I think one of my influences with lost found objects is the Ghanaian artist Ellen Natsui. We featured him a lot, at the National Museum of African Art, and he was a beautiful man, very humble, and his use of lost found objects, bottle caps and other things, and making these beautiful tapestries. And we did a lot of art workshops around that. And you can make beautiful things out of things that people throw away or you don't think you need anymore. So that's my inspiration for that.
Wow, that's great. And so what are some of like the concepts that influence the objects that you do use and the art you create with it?
Yeah, well, the last series I finished up, Black, the Gift That Keeps on Giving, which the two pieces with Alfa Art are part of, all came about in New York. And it's taking a look at the resilience, the brilliance, the magnificence of Black peoples around the world. And despite being oppressed and suppressed, and since they, reached the shores of the United States, we still rise and we do these magnificent things. And we're still going through it, as we see, it's been hot this summer with BLM, and, they just had the protesting last night, some more protesting. So that was my inspiration. I featured the color red for the blood of the people, but I also still wanted the objects to be beautiful as well. So there's some shiny objects being used, crystals being used. So that was my inspiration for that. Who would have thought that we still be talking about this, especially in America 400 years later, still fighting for the simple things that people have died for so long. And here we are again. It's, it's like a tragedy, like it's like a tragedy play. Like, are you serious? Is this for real? This is still happening, the trauma. So yeah.
Wow, that's very heavy and very needed. So like specifically the pieces that you have in the show, could you tell me a little bit about those two?
Yeah, Girl Using Danger, that came about, oh gosh, they come to you subconsciously, and you have a vision in your mind, but they always turn out somewhere else because it just kind of take a life on its own as they start and they go organic. But that piece was just to show the levels of blackness that have diminished over the years in the blood. The red paint has risen. And then, you know, a little, you know, like sometimes I like have a little kitsch in my work. So the little danger, what do they call streamers, you know, that you see around.
Like tape.
Yeah, the tape, you know, the caution tape. This one says danger. And it's like basically saying, girl, you's in danger. You's a black woman and you's in danger. You're wanted on these streets, you know? So that's that piece. The other piece, oh my gosh, that's like 4 pieces in one, because it started out as one thing and now it's like this whole hodgepodge of whatever you want to call it. But see yourself is just a reflection. I want you to focus on the bird cage with the black testicles and the blood, the fake blood in the vial, and the hanging of the blood, which represents the castration and lynching of black men throughout U.S. history. The lynching, you know, we had a few cases this spring where black men, they call them doing suicide, but they're hanging from a tree.
Yeah.
No. We don't do that. We don't do that. We don't do that. So it's still relevant. So I want you to look at the piece, look at that, and then, you know, look at your reaction in the little antique mirrors. You know, those are antique mirrors. Those are like lost found objects. Look at yourself. See yourself. What are you doing to contribute to this, or to stop it, or what? So, yeah, that's what that piece is about.
Wow. So are you like definitely looking forward to it now being in the gallery and like people being able to see it rather than it just being in a photo?
I'm excited. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, what are people gonna say when they see it? You know what I mean? And to actually see it installed, it's a beautiful thing. It's a blessing, and it's I'm a little like nervous at the same time.
Yeah.
This is my first time having my work actually installed physically. I have another piece in another show, but they just did virtual, you know, exhibition due to. So no, it's exciting and I'm grateful. Yeah, I'm just excited. I didn't, you know, you work on pieces, but you don't know where they're gonna go, you know? And it took me so long to start presenting my work and trying to get it in shows. I was always hesitant, you know, and I had to ask myself, why are you hesitant? You're stopping yourself. Nobody else is stopping you. So let's go. Yeah.
That's great. Well, congratulations. Your work is amazing. It deserves to be seen. So that's great.
So what do you think of it?
I really like it. You bringing up Ella Nutze, like I definitely see that. And I think that I really like the fact that, I mean, because his work is like a little bit more about, you know, making these objects a little bit lost, you know, in the tapestry. But I really like how you kind of like center it also around like using these objects and making it seem like, and you saying like the kitsch of it. I think that that's like really nice. And I think like it allows the viewer to be able to like see things that they recognize in it and like really connect with that. So I think that that's like really brilliant on your part.
Oh, thank you. And then there's a piece, my piece is behind me here.
Oh, wow. Can you tell me about that one?
A crazy piece. I think that, you know, I did it in the studio. It's just a homage to, I think I'm an 80s baby. I grew up an 80s baby with neon colors and abstract, you know, and a homage to Basquiat, and 80s new wave music played a little part to it. So I just call that my 80s piece with all my colors.
Yeah. I love it. It's like, it's so big that I feel like that's like, it's just.
I know, the biggest piece I've done. I had this big piece of canvas. I was like, what are you gonna do with this? Of course, it started off as something else and ended up somewhere else as usual. But it was fun. Yeah. And I had a wall space at home. So I was like, let's put it up, you know.
Yeah. Nice. So what else have you been working on recently?
Oh, so it's a new series called Faraday, my journey home, and you might have heard this on my interview with Women of Culture if you watched it. My husband and I adopted a baby during the pandemic. Crazy, blessing, but crazy at the same time. Back in, we had to go end of March. She was born April 6th in San Antonio, Texas. So we had to go there and pick her up and quarantine for 14 days because they had the executive order for people from New York. That's when everybody was hating on New York.
Remember? Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Now everybody else is like, look.
I was in New Orleans during the time, so like, girl. I was in New Orleans, so they were like real pushing on us because of everything, like after Mardi Gras and like the big stuff. They were like,
just hating the New Yorkers. I was like, I don't care. And then all the people fled. I was like, y'all are not true New Yorkers. You fled to your homes in the Hamptons and everything. Anyway, so we have this beautiful baby. Her name is Faraday, which is Persian for unique pearl, and also inspired by the parable of the pearl from the book of Matthew 13. So I have some sculpture pieces, some drawings, inspired by her and this, this crazy journey we, had to go on, and this little baby that, had to quarantine with us and come back on this plane, and just crazy. So her work is, or her inspiration, I have a lot of pearls for Parable of the Pearls. I have some barn wood that I'm working with and some abstract drawings. And then I'm working on a bigger piece of photos featuring her in them. And we'll see where that goes. So, yeah, working on for her.
Yeah, that's great. That's great that, like, whenever she grows up, she's going to be able to, like,
yeah, like, girl, this is what happened. She's been a little soldier through all this. It's just, yeah. So something for her, part of her legacy. So she'll know what was happening at the time of her birth, what the world was going through, and, the madness, but the beautiful madness at the same time.
Yeah, wow, that's great.
Yay.
Yeah, so I mean, I kind of like went through all my questions. Is there anything else that you want to talk about?
What do we want to talk about? So let's see. What's your favorite type of art? I'm just trying to, do you have a favorite artist or art? Are you an artist?
I do. So I do printmaking.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so I really like printmaking, and I think like just because, you get to really understand something whenever you're also making it and like understand a whole different part of it, and printmaking is like very technical, so I really like being able to like see these different references to like the traditional techniques of it all and everything. But I do really like mixed media sculptures. I think that those are I think things that I would never be able to make myself, but I like really appreciate and really am drawn towards, because there's just so many different references, so many different things whenever someone is using anything that they have accessible,
Sure. Cool. I would think printmaking is it mathematical?
Somewhat, yeah.
Well?
Yeah, you have to like remember like certain times, and like if you're doing etching, it's like an acid bath, and like there's like chemicals and different things. So yeah, it can get like real specific.
Okay, cool. Now, are you in school?
I just graduated, actually.
From where?
From Tulane.
Oh, that's why you've been there. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I've been to New Orleans, and I always wanted to go.
Yeah, it's a great
place.
It's so great. I really wish, obviously with all those things that happened, but like I think especially going to college there, you're kind of stuck on the campus a little bit, and I was like doing a lot of things. So I like just feel like there's so much more for me to see there. So I'm looking forward to hopefully being able to go back at some point.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, good. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Thanks so much for talking with me.